Isn't that crazy?
Technical difficulties.
Joe, the recruiter that codes, figure it out, buddy.
Right. A second ago. Hold on.
Oh my gosh. It's fine, guys. Welcome back to All Things Nerdy, where we nerds cannot figure out how to make our intro work today.
Oh.
Oh, we got it. Welcome back again. All Things Nerdy with Nate and Joe. I'm Nate. That's Joe. Today we have somebody that we've talked with before about some anime back to talk about, I guess, anime, but an anime that everybody loves and knows and has, captured our hearts since we were a kid and inspired us to go out and catch them all. And I know a lot of people, if you're a fan of Pokemon, you play the games, you watch the shows, all that kind of stuff. So that's really, we're going to be diving into it, all kinds of different things. Joe?
We got our first comment already. Steven's like, you're live on a Sunday. So, yes, we're going live today. Little story. Nathan's going to be on an airplane coming back to the United States this Thursday. So we're going to go live today, record it, and then play it again on Thursday at our normal time. But that is kind of why we're going live on a Sunday today. And, of course, talking about Pokemon with the face that we've seen before, face that you guys will see again, the one, the only, Keaton. Talk nerdy to us.
What's up, guys? Happy to be back. I appreciate the invite. We're looking forward to the third where we're doing, a special podcast. But yeah, looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you jumping back on. And when we decided to talk about Pokemon, I was so excited. I love Pokemon. I play all the games and things like that. And little backstory for everybody, Keaton is one of our close friends. So every Pokemon release, our group text message just blows up, right? So this is something I think we're all excited to talk about.
Yeah, I would we all used to work together and stuff like that, and then I would say Pokemon is the staple that has kept our friendship going. I mean, there's a lot of staples in that staple line, but the biggest, the first one is Pokemon, I would say.
I mean, I do think we talk the most. I do think we talk the most when it comes to Pokemon or probably anime and Naruto, right? So anime, we can just throw it all under anime. Anime brings us together.
Yeah. And I feel like Naruto right now, just because you've been watching it for the first time through, so we're always both of us are very where are you at? Where do you tell us what's going on, that kind of stuff. But Pokemon for sure, because they release a new game every year, so we're always on the group chat release date talking through what our strategy is going to be to make it more difficult this time, or what our thoughts are on the game, hey, what do you feel about this one versus this one, that kind of stuff. How do you pronounce Arceus or Arceus?
Yeah, how's Nate gonna whoop our ass in the competitive scene? How does he plan on spending double the amount of time with that than we will? Yeah.
So I do play some competitive Pokemon, not I don't go to tournaments or anything. I pride myself on, I actually breed my teams, right natures, right IVs, moveset, everything. So I love doing that. I think we all play a little differently. So I'm definitely the competitive one and things so when you are Joe, and you're it's really Joe, not Keaton. Joe's let's battle. I'm okay.
Keaton's I know I'm not.
Joe's just glutton for punishment is all when it comes to Pokemon.
This comment kind of fits. He was he'll be lucky if we let him back in the country. It reminds me of a battle story that I wanted to share with Nathan. That I'll let him start. But we did a Pokemon battle. He decided to go with Mamoswine. I was going Infernape. But Nate, why don't you give him a little insight on
clear type advantage? Clear type advantage.
Fire versus ice. I was oh, I got this.
So look, in competitive, right, you have certain leadoff Pokemon. A lot of times those leadoff Pokemon are quick and speed and they're set up mines, right? And again, I have bred my Pokemon and things like that. And Joe was let's just go. And he didn't know, right? So he threw out this Inferno Ape. And I was like, Mamoswine, which I love Mamoswine. Mamoswine's one of my favorite Pokemon. And bro, he salty.
Well,
He's like, oh, I got you. And I'm like, nah, fam.
well, pause. For people who don't know what a Mamoswine is, it's a woolly mammoth, a giant Pokemon. Woolly. So keep that in mind. All right, Nate, continue.
Yeah, so it's a large Pokemon, you know, Mamoswine. It's a mammoth. It's an ice type. Anyway, so he throws out his Inferno Ape. I throw out my Mamoswine. Joe's feeling good about it. And
quick backstory: Infernape, like just assuming that some of the people that don't like Pokemon as much as us, Infernape is a fighting fire skinny monkey. So super quick, super fast. Like Pokemon, they have stats, right? And you're usually good at certain things: speed, attack, defense, just in the basics. And so, like, long story short, fighting monkey typically faster than large woolly mammoth.
Not my woolly mammoth. Bro, Joe was feeling so good, so confident, talking trash, and I wrecked him, son.
But here's the problem. Well, I would expect him to one hit me. Right, giant monkey squishing a little, giant ape squishing a little monkey. I expect strength, right? But what got me was he went first.
I did. I was faster than he was.
In what world is a giant woolly mammoth faster than a flaming monkey? A monkey that is literally on fire is slower than an elephant. Like,
it's competitive world. So look, so you have your casual Pokemon players, people that just enjoy the game, they enjoy the designs, they enjoy, the cuteness. And the games are for casual people, they're for kids. But the post game is all about breeding and competitive battling. That is what it is. That is what adults play it for if you like to be competitive with Pokemon and things like that. And with competitive Pokemon, there are natures that can increase speed, can increase defense, physical attack, special attack, things like that, HP, all those, right? And then on top of that, there's IVs and EVs. And IVs are like your natural born ability. Like, how good can you get at this, right? So all of my Pokemon, unless I'm running like a trick room setup, are like 5 to 6 IV. Some of them, I don't care if it's special attack over physical and things like that. So 5 to 6 IV. And then you have EVs, which is where there's 2 ways to get EVs in the games. And the way you get those is you can either take like a protein or calcium or something like that, or you can battle specific Pokemon to up like your speed, to up your physical attacks and things like that. So mine are purely bred for competitive, and Joe's just like, off the street, like, hey, like I got an Inferno Ape, like, let's run it. Yeah. So that is why mine was faster.
Joe's like what the typical, normal Pokemon person would do. Just like, oh, I got my team that I played with through the game. I got all different types, so I can beat any other type. Let's just play it. And Nate's, in a sense, in a simple fact, he's just putting steroids on all these Pokemon, and basically catching like hundreds of them to find the one that's the strongest. And then he's just injecting a bunch of like steroids like we do our chickens and getting them there as quick as possible. And then you got a chicken whooping ass because it's on steroids.
Yeah. So legit, I do spend, and I can't believe I'm about to admit this on a stream, but I do spend way too many hours breeding. So like, I will find a way to get a 6 IV Ditto, whether it be through Discord or whatever, and then I use that Ditto with like an Everstone and things like that, or depending on whether I'm trying to get the IVs. But nonetheless, like, bro, me and my wife will be in bed, and I'm like, oh, it's cool. Just let me like hatch one more egg. 3 hours later, she's like, bro, you've hatched an egg. And I'm like, I don't know about it.
I've hatched 400 eggs.
That's another.
But that aside, we all do enjoy playing Pokemon. And I have like 3 of my favorites here. I'm very like, I don't know. I really like, my favorites tend to be part of the OG like 150, I guess, just because that's the Pokemon I knew growing up. Nate Keaton, what are like some of your favorite Pokemon? And are you kind of like me, where it's like, yeah, I grew up with these, so they're my favorites, or is like there's some of the newer ones you're like, oh, I like those because they're way cooler.
Keaton, you can take it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I tend to be the same as you just because like I'm 29, and so I think I think Red came out when I was really young. Anyways, Red, Blue, whatever. Anyway, so I just grew up with the original Pokemon, so I tend to be, like them more, and I'll do playthroughs of the newer games where I'll only use Gen 1 Pokemons just because it's like anything else. Like I like the original Modern Warfare 2 best because I played it when I was in ninth grade. But to combine with that, I've really started trying to, and I wasn't like a Gen 1er who thinks Gen 1 is better than everything per se, but I'll basically do like an OG run with all the original first or second gen. And then this past year, I basically went complete opposite of that. And it was like, I'm going to use Pokemon that I've never used before, ever. And so I find myself liking certain ones each year. Like I know we all loved Tinkaton. Like,
Oh
freaking
yeah,
cool was
Tinkaton.
Tinkaton.
Let's go.
So like I tend to like the OGs more, obviously, just because that's what everybody like, whatever you grew up on, you tend to like more. But I'm not a jerk and don't appreciate the new ones that come out. But I think part of it too is like when you have the original 151, like it's easier to design them because you have a blank slate. And so now I don't even know how many, like God knows how many. And so it is hard to be original. And so they kind of have that working against them, but they've done a good job of continuing it.
Yeah, I think they've done pretty well. I think some of their designs have kind of went south, like from the new Pokemon. Like I really thought like Fuecoco was cool, but like his evolution is just like a clown alligator, and I'm like, come
Oh
on,
yeah.
like I hated the hair and things like that. I know some people loved it, and that's great. And that's the thing, right? Is like they cannot design something that makes everyone happy other than Charizard because everyone loves Charizard. Um,
I mean, but that's easy. That's like it's like one of the first Pokemon ever. It's a flying fire dragon.
Yeah, but he's not
yeah.
even a dragon.
Technically not a dragon.
Technically not
I
dragon.
mean, technically, but you know what I mean.
Although in the new one they released a Charizard and gave it a dragon like subtype where you could like what do they call it? I can't remember. It's been so long since I played it. But basically you could like evolve it into a dragon type for that specific battle. Anyways, but I agree with y'all. I love the original. I just think it's so hard to beat the original because I grew up like I would get off the bus and like sprint. And my driveway growing up long as a mother, and I don't like to run, right? But man, I would like get off that bus and sprint to the house to try to catch Pokemon. I watched it every day, Monday to Friday. My mom be like, "You grounded." I'd be like, "You don't know that I'm going to turn this TV on." She had the remote. I pushed the buttons. Either way, like I was watching Pokemon.
Oh,
So
100%. I found out
so
on the old TVs, like I think they're still the box TVs, used to have headphone plugins. So I'd be grounded and I'd lock my room and I'd put my headphones in and I'd be watching it and listening.
yeah, like legit. I would run, turn on the TV, I'd watch it, turn it off before mom got to the house. Like whoa, I've been grounded. I've been sitting here, twiddling my thumbs, counting the numbers. Like I've been waiting for you to get here. Like definitely wasn't watching TV. So
or
can
anything else.
Still recite that OG theme song?
Oh,
I want to be the very best.
that's just
I don't know all of it, but
but no, I mean the original 151, and then even like the second through third gen, obviously, but I think that they've done a really good job adapting. And this was something I guess I wanted to ask y'all is what is y'all's opinion? I think it was Arceus that they made the change from kind of a guided gameplay type to more open world. What has been y'all's opinion on that?
oh, I got a lot. Joe, do you want to answer
Yeah,
and then I can jump in?
I'll go first. I will say, like, out of all the other games, like at first I enjoyed it more, but then like as it went on, I was like, I didn't. I started to like it less and less because I feel like it almost got still repetitive. And then they came out with Scarlet and Violet, and I like that a lot more. Where it was the same, like you have things to do, but then you have like 3 different ways you could go about it. You didn't have to do it in order, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I like that a lot more. So it still had the structure, but then you could kind of do it however you wanted to do it versus just, hey, you have to go this way or you can't really go any other way because you don't have cut. You can't get through this line, you know, that kind of stuff. But that's my opinion.
Yeah. So I got a lot. First, I'm going to answer your question, Joe, about the favorite. I'm going to say Dragonite, Gengar, and number 3 would be. Oh, that's tough. I don't know. Those are my top 2, Dragonite and Gengar. I'd have to think on the third. But anyway, so my thoughts on the overworld. So if you go back, right, to the original Pokemon, a lot of the gripe was like the grind of finding specific Pokemon, completing your decks, things like that. And with the new world, the overworld system, it is so easy. You can avoid everything if you want. You can easily find what you need to catch for your Pokedex. Shinies are abundant. I used to be so proud when I found a shiny, right? Like, oh my God, like it was crazy. Like you save scum until you catch it. You do not let it run. You do not kill it. Like, but now they're just so common because you don't have to have the encounter. You just see them off in the distance and you go get them. And now Arceus, the like catching on the run without having to do the battle little cutscene, it saves a ton of time. But also on the flip side of that, dude, there'd be times where I would spend 10 minutes just running around throwing balls, come back, and it'd be like, you caught 32 Pokemon. Like, I think that takes away some of the enjoyment of it. But also, I did like the crafting. People have been asking for a Pokemon MMO, like a legit MMO, for as long as I can remember. And I would I would just like live on that, right? I'd become a permanent streamer. I'd be on Twitch. I'd quit my job. My wife would divorce me. I would live on it. But like ultimately, the overworld, Scarlet, Violet, Sword, Shield, Arceus, however you pronounce it, whatever, they're just too easy. And now what Violet and Scarlet did, I thought was really cool. The like you could go your own path. I think that was great. I know a lot of younger kids, which the games are designed for, struggled with it because they could walk into areas that were higher level. There was no like, you should go here, you should do that. But I liked it. My only issue with that is A, is way too easy. And B, the level scale of the monsters was not there. It was design patched levels. So like this area is 1 through 10. But I did like the whole left side up. And then I came back down and I did the whole right side. So I essentially had to restart with 6 different Pokemon in order to enjoy the right side at all. Because I was already rocking like level 75, 80 Pokemon and then come back down here and I was like, what the crap? So I had to ditch all of them and do 6 different ones. It was basically like I had to play 2 different games. And I would prefer that like if I'm level 80, they're rocking level 80. If I'm level hundo, they're level hundo.
Yeah, we got a couple comments. Nicole on TikTok said that her favorite game was the one where you could take snapshots of them. I think it was actually called
Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo 64.
Yep.
I still have that.
On Switch too. And then Stephanie, she says, I didn't enjoy the Pokedex collection parts after the initial Pokemon. I can agree with that. Like I was talking about Arceus, like it was like you had to go and catch this kind or catch this kind or that kind. I was like,
but it would also be like you had to catch like 15 Growlithe. It wasn't like you just catch Growlithe and it goes. Like you had to catch like 15 to get it to register, right? And that's just like unnecessary. That's just busy work for busy work because you didn't put enough complexity into the game.
Was that Arceus, more Arceus based?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even finish Arceus because of that. Because I got to where I had to complete the objectives. Yeah. And it was like, it was more child based or like kid based, right? Like go take a picture of whatever. And it got to a point where I would just do the minimum. And then it was like, all right, to go to this area, now you got to catch up and do like 20 of these things. And I was like, you know what? And I think to answer my own question, I think that I really enjoyed the thought of it. And I thought that they didn't deliver as well on Arceus. It was cool to start, but by the end of it, you're like, this is super redundant and super, like I guess a shallow game, right?
Yeah.
They did really well with Scarlet and Violet and expanding on that. And I thought that it was great. and they had, like you said, the 3 tiers. I forgot, like the hideouts and the badges and all that. And I thought that was really cool, and I appreciated it. But also, to Nate's point, I think that it's become a little too easy, and I think that, and I really had this epiphany while I was playing Scarlet and Violet. I think part of the problem with these open world games, or even the more recent games, is like, so you remember as a kid, so I went to daycare, right? And so we're playing Pokemon Red and Blue, or we're playing Gold and Silver, one of the first ones. And there's like 1 or 2 kids whose parents were cool enough to buy them the book.
Yeah, strategy guy, baby.
Yeah, right? And so it's like freaking raw meat in a lion's den. You got a bunch of kids huddled around that trying to figure out what to do, because we don't have access to the internet and we can't just figure it out. Now, let's just say I'm playing Scarlet and I get stuck, or I go to the wrong gym, and I'm like, oh, hey, I'm level 35. What gym should I go to? It'll just tell you. And then you just go there, or you fly there, or whatever. And that's like cool. But at the same time, there's a sense of satisfaction you get when you have no access to that and you just figure it out on your own.
Yep.
Yeah, I try to avoid the internet, especially on like first run throughs. The only time I use the internet, and it's because Pokemon has gotten so ridiculous with this. Some of their like evolutions are like, you have to be at this spot at night while it's raining, and you have to have this Pokemon with this item. There's even a Pokemon, I can't remember if it's Scarlet and Violet, it might be Sword and Shield. You have to turn your actual Switch. So you're like this. You have to turn it upside down in order to evolve the Pokemon. How the F? And you have to be at a certain spot on the map and a certain time of the day. How the F you expect anyone to just randomly know that? Like, you expect me to just be walking through and I just drop my Switch, and then next thing I know, I pick it up and I got a new Pokemon?
I'd say
drop the Switch.
Some kid's mom calls him down to dinner, and he puts the Switch down. And he comes back and he's got a new Pokemon. He's like, what the hell?
What happened here? We got a TikTok comment that said that I look like Rick Grimes. That's kind of funny. We're Walking Dead, and my daughter Bella literally just said that last night. You look like him. I was like, okay, but that is pretty funny. Little sidetrack, and then Stephanie Inky, at least on Pokemon Go. Yep. That's a whole nother world. Pokemon Go too, like.
Oh yeah. And we hadn't even got into the card discussion.
Dude,
I don't know if we're going to.
Yeah,
we should probably try to keep it a little more niche.
It's like Pokemon, there's so much. I mean,
Pokemon World.
Okay. Favorite legendary, because every series has its own legendary. The game's usually based around legendaries, that kind of thing. Keaton, what's your favorite legendary?
Like
time out. We have to set rules.
Okay.
Pure legendaries or do pseudo legendaries?
That's what I was going to ask.
I mean, come on. It doesn't matter. It's like your favorite, right? So even if it's a pseudo legendary, like, it's still your favorite.
No, it matters, because pseudo legendary isn't technically legendary. It's like fake legendary.
It's like guitar.
Like Arcanine is a legendary, but it's not that kind of thing.
No, Arcanine is not a pseudo legendary.
Not a pseudo legendary.
It's in his description.
It's like Dragonite, Tyranitar, Salamence, the 3 dragon head guy. Forgot his name.
Hyde. I can't remember. And then also Gibble's evolution.
Garchomp.
Garchomp. Yeah.
The only legendary Garchomp is Cynthia's.
Man, like Mewtwo always holds a special place in my heart, just because. And that original movie, like, if you go back and watch that, like, Mewtwo drops some freaking life lessons, actually. Yeah. But man, I think Lugia is so cool. Like, I don't know what it is about Lugia, but I just love Lugia. So if I had to go, I mean, Mewtwo is probably my favorite, but that's just because, like, that's like saying Charizard.
Yeah.
So I'll go Lugia with mine.
Okay.
Yeah, mine's Mewtwo. It's I love Mewtwo. Yep. And then if we're gonna do pseudo legendary, it's Dragonite. Dragonite's like top 3 for me in general.
Yeah.
So like if we talk pseudo legendary and I was to say anything other than Dragonite, then I'd be an idiot. But Dragonite. And then outside of Mewtwo from legendaries, that's a good question. There's a bunch of them now. I'm gonna go old school, man. I liked what was it? Articuno, the ice bird. I always thought that thing was so lit, like so sick.
Oh yeah, Zapdos and
Yeah.
what about you, Joe?
Original 3 birds. I like Ho.
Oh yeah, oh that's cool.
Yeah, Ho's pretty cool. Rayquaza.
Rayquaza is like
cool, especially the shiny version. Like when you just kind of look at the art of the shiny Rayquaza, just look just bad, and it's a dragon, you know, that kind of thing.
I'd say Rayquaza is like the second most like popular legendary for sure. I loved the freaking the dogs, Entei, Raikou, like those things were cool. Entei was probably the coolest in my opinion.
Yeah,
Fire dog.
Entei was great.
But those movies were great. Like I don't know, I kind of want to go rewatch them.
All right, so go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say we're all gonna be like either watching or playing some form of Pokemon today after this.
Oh, yeah.
I was playing Pokemon Go earlier today as we were walking around Athens, just catching things. It was like community day for Timber. So I was trying to catch some shinies. But so question, this is the big one, right? Line up Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Charmander. Who you picking?
I mean, I'm just basic. Like I'm gonna get Charmander. I always have. I've always gone the fire route pretty much every single time. And that's what I was telling you recently. I've been trying to not go fire route just because that's what I always do. But I mean, if I would pick Charmander.
Joe?
I've been fire from like the first one, like Keaton. Like, I mean, Charmander, Cyndaquil, the little kitten thing.
Yeah.
I chose the alligator. Like, it pretty much, if it's the choice and fire's in there, that's what I go with. Torchic. Like, what about you?
I mean, the fire is usually the coolest, right? Like, so I struggle because I have a special place in my heart for like Squirtle and Venusaur as well. Like, I love them both. I've played the game so many times. I've ran them all. But if you're like, Nate, you only get to pick one, I'm probably going to grab Charmander. So we're all just basically basic, is what we just admitted on.
It's true. But I mean, like, the fire Pokemon, I guess this is personal taste, but I feel like it's a majority, but have just typically had a cooler design. Plus, for early games, they're typically easier to start out with too, because you always fight a lot of time you fight bug or grass pretty early on, so it's just easier for a time matchup. But like they just typically look cooler. Like Infernape looks cooler than its rivals, like
Quaxley.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the newer. That's that's for Coco, but I would still take for Coco over Waxley. Yeah. But so I agree with you in a sense that like usually you fight for like grass and bug early on, but for me it serves a different purpose because you usually need a fire type, but your starter fire type are usually stronger, better moveset, and like you said, just overall design better than most of your other fire type Pokemon that you can get throughout the game. The only exception would be Charmander to like Ninetales. Ninetales is amazing. Vulpix is great. Arcanine is great, but like still Charmander tops them. But if you look past and like through the other series in the games, the fire starter Pokemon is usually better than any of the other ones you can get. My opinion.
Because also too, if you think about like Arcanine, Growlithe turns into Arcanine until I'm pretty sure like almost level 40. Like,
well, I think it's a stone. Arcanine or Growlithe evolves. No, Vulpix. Maybe it's the game. It depends. No, I think it's a stone. I think it's a fire stone. Hold on, I'll Google it.
But here's another thing the new games have done too. So like in the originals, you couldn't give like, let's just say I had a Growlithe, but let's just say, I think 36 I'm thinking of is because that's when it learns flamethrower or something like that. I can't remember. But in the original games, you couldn't, if you gave him the stone, it stopped learning moves.
Yep.
In the new games,
Or if you,
and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, in the old games, they had different move lines, I guess is the way to call it. Like a lot of times, Arcanon could learn different moves, whether it be TMs, HMs, anything like that, can learn different ones than what Growlithe could. But the issue you ran into a lot of times is like the base moves for Growlithe, like the flamethrower and things like that, are better than the move line for the Arcanine. So you would want to hold off till max freaking level, right, where they learn their last move, whether that be 42, 46. And now in the newer generations, that's still an issue with some of them, but like they don't learn their last move till like 56, 58. And you're like, dude, I got to hold on to this guy for, forever. And,
but you could also just like buy flamethrower in the new games and just give it to them at level 3. And then you still have flamethrower. And I think that's part of the it's easier now thing that, for us that are older, it kind of makes it's still a lot of fun, obviously, because we still play them, but a little less challenging where like you used a move in the old games, you're done. It's over with. Like you had to base almost a team around moves, and like everything you did was calculated toward like flamethrower, thunder, like surf and hydro pump. And now just like I can give 4 of my Pokemon hydro pump if I want to, if I use the right types.
Yeah, well, like back in the day, like you got one, you might get lucky, you find 2 of the same TM or something like that. But like you said, you would get 1. And the Pokemon you gave it to, you had to be sure this was the Pokemon I wanted. But now it doesn't even use it. It doesn't even consume it. It just like, oh, congratulations, you found this. You can just, spread it with the world, give it to all the Pokemon. And also, like, Pokemon is getting, like, more and more out there with types and what different moves certain types can learn and stuff like that. Like, you're having, like, there's some really versatile, like, Arcanon. Back on this, Arcanon can learn, like, Thunder Bite and all kinds of different things. Excuse me. I just got back from dinner. And, like, it creates more, like, diversity in like the competitive scene, but it can also be very confusing. And I think the games have just gotten easier because we're no longer kids.
Yeah,
right. But man, I would kill for like a difficulty level. You know?
That's what I was gonna say, like a difficulty level. Plus 2, now you can unlearn your moves. So I can accidentally keep pressing A and give a Pokemon a move, and not only do I not waste its life, but I can just say, oh, let me just get the old one back.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. The difficult, like if we could have a difficulty level on Pokemon, that would be great. Either that or just like if we keep with the open world, I would almost like to see a trial of like just level matching. Because on Scarlet and Violet, it was open world, but you still had to go in a certain order because of levels of the gyms and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Here we go. Stephanie's an OG. I didn't realize you could give multiple Pokemon the TM. I haven't used them because I didn't want to regret who I gave it to. Now I know. See, there he goes. We're changing lives over here.
Dropping info bombs.
As far as making the game harder, I saw one person who, like on TikTok, they were giving rules to themselves, and they were like animating it, so it was really fun to watch. But they pretty much made it to where if their Pokemon fainted, that it was dead. They couldn't use it anymore. And then they like had to only use one of each type, so they couldn't get multiple of the same type, that kind of thing. And so that was really fun to watch and see like their progression through the game, and just the humor that they had of like when their Pokemon died, those kinds of things. And it makes like, I don't know, the battle with the Elite Four, like you can only have one of each type of Pokemon. If it dies, you're done. Like that's pretty difficult. But again, like they're imposing themselves to make it harder versus like, the actual game being harder.
Like a
so
Nuzlocke?
You say that I have done several Nuzlocks. Even our first run. Remember when I told y'all like I'm gonna do a Nuzlocke? So there's all kinds of different rules. There's like you can only catch one Pokemon from the certain area Nuzlocks. There's the Nuzlocks I put in is I can only have one of each kind of Pokemon. So I couldn't catch like 3, I don't know, Squirtles. I couldn't do that, right? I could catch one Squirtle, and that was my Squirtle. It did not matter. And I a lot of times I'll do the first on the route. So I didn't get to pick and choose. It was just like, oh, here it is. I'm catching it. The only exception was shiny. If I came across shiny, I didn't give a shit about the rules. Anyways, and then if one of my Pokemon fainted, they died. I released them. You know, like they were just gone. I never got to use them again and things like that. But still, it doesn't happen a ton. Pokemon, if built right, built correctly, if you know what you're doing, you know, a lot of times even Nuzlocks don't make it super hard. I've even seen Nuzlocks where they use like the same underpowered Pokemon for the whole thing. I saw a guy in one of my Facebook groups, he did a Smoliv run, and he beat the whole game with nothing but like Smolivs, and Smolivs are not very good, and he did it.
Yeah, Nuzlocks are cool, and I like watching. I don't have TikTok anymore, but I used to love watching people do Nuzlocks. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I had never done a hardcore one, but I mean that is a way to make it more difficult. But I don't know.
I think I speak one for everybody. When I want two things from Pokemon, right? And these are the real two things that I want. I want a Pokemon MMO first and foremost. Like, just give me WoW, but Pokemon. And I don't understand why they don't. I don't understand why they don't do it, right? Like, and there is a Poke MMO, right, that you can download and you get the ROMs for and all that. I haven't done it, but you can. I don't know if it's legal or illegal. I wouldn't suggest it, but if you're looking for something like that, you can do it. But ultimately, I would like a legit Poke MMO from them. And then secondly, I want a remastered Pokemon Stadium. That's all I want.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Pokemon Stadium is like legendary. Me and my friends a few years ago, he still had it, and we had a tournament, like full bracket and everything. Pokemon Stadium. It was awesome. Yeah.
Way back, Pokemon Stadium was that Nintendo 64? Just
Oh yeah.
Well, I think they are bringing it to the Switch. If I remember correctly, I do believe they're bringing Stadium to the Switch. So, fingers crossed. That would be awesome.
I think
But
would be the biggest thing. Like who doesn't want to become a true Pokemon master? Like,
yeah, and the thing is like
on the VR where you're putting, the VRs are getting way better. You really submerge yourself into the Pokemon world. Like, how amazing would that be? Like,
that'd be incredible. I think something that they need to I guess understand or maybe adapt a little more, and this follows the theme, but there's a lot of people our age, our general age range, that still play Pokemon. And so I guess the core of it is they haven't adapted extremely well to its fan base that started with Pokemon and love Pokemon. Like, they obviously, kids still love it. Like, I got my nephew's first Pokemon cards and all that, but they haven't adapted in the understanding of like a bunch of their fans are still people who played it in the late 90s, early 2000s, and have still just grown with the game, but the game hasn't necessarily grown with us to a degree. And I think that's like the underlying.
Yeah. And they are getting easier. Not, I mean, A, because we're adults, B, because of the internet, but also C, like if you look at Sword and Shield, a lot of things were underpowered. It was really hard to die. Like, you almost had to purposely underlevel in order to make it a competition. The AI behind the Pokemon, like the hardest we've seen was going to be Cynthia. Her Garchomp was IVEV, like it was IVEV leveled, whatever, bred. It's not bred, made. Right. And people loved that fight. They loved, like, everybody. When people started getting to it, everybody's like, oh my God, this is the hardest thing. I can't beat it. Like, I love this fight. It's so good. And things like that. Like, it was awesome. But like, now we're going into like the Elite Four, Elite Eight. God, I'm getting like that basketball confused. But nonetheless, we're going into it, and they're like they're like Joe's Pokemon, right? Where like if I was a filthy casual, then like maybe it would be a competition, but I'm running in there and I'm rocking like 2-3 Pokemon and just murdering all of them. Just get through the whole game.
I've never, except for Cynthia, I never got nervous like going into the Elite Four. I was like, let me just buy all this stuff and like it'll be no problem.
Dude, and when I lost,
it's easy.
when I lost to Cynthia, like on the first run through, I was flabbergasted. I was like,
You're like, I'm a 30-year-old grown man. I just lost.
exactly. I was like, I just lost. Like what? But I loved it. I was
But
like, this is what I missed.
That's why the Souls games are good, right? It's difficult to a degree.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I also know from those groups that a lot of kids really, really struggled with the Cynthia fight.
Dude, my
And like,
friend,
because I saw all their parents, like, my kid is like so tired of this, can't beat Cynthia. Like, oh my God, the parents that don't play Pokemon that join the Pokemon Facebook group just to ask for advice on how to help their kid beat Cynthia, to the responses that people gave, oh, quality, you
Yeah.
know.
Look, difficulty levels, easy, medium, hard, super hard, whatever. That's it.
Lane, my son, he did like he got crushed the first couple times too. I was like, go in the underground and train. Like that's how you're going to beat her. Like
Right. Get
Over
better.
level.
Maybe we're teaching kids valuable life lessons. Maybe we should keep it that way.
100%.
Just get whooped.
Hey, that's what Rock Lee does. He got his ass whipped. He just kept training.
I will say, supposedly, I saw something the other day. I haven't checked it out. I don't know how real it is, but supposedly there is a ROM with an AI plugin, right? And it is essentially like fighting Cynthia over and over and over again. Like all the fights, they will swap out their Pokemon in a correct manner based off like the statistics of matchups and things like that. They will heal their Pokemon correctly. They will, use moves like sleep and rest and stuff like that. They won't be stupid where it just like hardens 36 times in a row or anything like that. Like the AI is supposed to help with the difficulty and the enjoyment of the game. It's supposed to grow with you. It's supposed to level scale. And I need to go back and look, but if there's a ROM that does that, like that would be incredible because that means like every battle would be difficult. Every battle would be tough. Like the natures matter, the levels matter. And like doing a Nuzlocke on something like that, that would be amazing.
There are, because that's whenever like I would watch a lot of those TikToks where they have actual like smart AI and then like part of that too, which I thought was really cool. I wouldn't mind doing this, but it was just complete random Pokemon generator, like any of the Pokemon. And like your first encounter, like your starter could be anything, but then your first encounter could be Mewtwo.
Oh God, just get wrecked by an AI efficient Mewtwo.
Yeah, but you never know. So I thought that I said if I ever like got the time to sit down and actually do something with Pokemon outside of the games that are coming out, I would do that because that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why, like, everything that I've seen of Pokémon MMO, I think it's really cool. Like, you can pick what region you want to start in. You start in that region, and you can get whatever starter. But then there's like a market essentially. So I can go buy, I don't know, like Genghis Khan, right, or something like I could go buy Gyarados if I wanted to at like or a Magikarp at level 1, like as I walk out if I have the gold and stuff like that. And then like I see other people running around, catching things, doing stuff, and then like I can walk up to them and invite them to battle, and then we like battle our Pokemon. I just think that's so cool. And like if they did that, and like even if they made it like a subscription base, like we had to pay $10 a month, just take all my money. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I thought, and they kind of marketed Scarlet and Violet that it would be somewhat like that. Not necessarily the MMO style, but being able to play together more. And I thought we would be able to do that. But to your point, kind of like a co-op or like how NBA 2K does, like the centers where all three of us could just go to whatever part and just travel around together. That would be amazing. And you just brought up a good point too. And this is reverting back, Nate. But I know we're running short on time, but that was part of the reason I always did a fire Pokemon is because I was just getting Gyarados at level 20. That's kind of
100%.
I was getting Gyarados at level 20. I usually didn't get a grass Pokemon. I would just get a thunder or a lightning Pokemon or electric Pokemon, whatever, because I thought they were cool.
Yeah. I mean, It's still hard for me not to get Gyarados on every run
Oh,
through
yeah.
of every game. If Gyarados is on the game, I'm getting Gyarados as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're definitely over time. So we'll cut it off. Pokemon is just too big of a topic. We could literally go for. We haven't even touched on a bunch of the different stuff. But Keaton, thanks for joining us. Any kind of last thing before we knock off?
Oh man, I did it last time and I'll do it every single time. I will sing y'all's praises. I appreciate y'all's friendship and brotherhood, and I love y'all no matter where life takes us, different cities, different states, different jobs. So
Man, you're
that's all
too
I'm doing
nice.
is cool, and I appreciate it.
Same, likewise.
Yeah,
Man.
you too kind, man. We love you too.
All right, see y'all.
See ya.